What they've seen is that half of businesses that are put on the market don't sell. Those that do sell, or those that, where business owners do exit, something like 2/3 say they weren't happy with the way the exit went. And so there's a big opportunity there to help people and to really kind of make that a rewarding experience.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of It Depends, a podcast series brought to you by Hantzmon Wiebel. You know that if you've ever talked to an accountant, they've told you, well, it depends. This podcast series is for business owners, leaders, operators, accountants, or someone just wanting to learn more about the accounting industry. I'm your host, Clarissa Hoffman. Today we are joined by Chris Brubaker, a partner in our tax and advisory departments. Thanks for joining us again, Chris.
Happy to be here.
So today we're going to talk about exit planning, my definition of which is finding the closest door in an awkward social situation, but that is not what we're talking about today. So tell us what you mean when you talk about exit planning.
Every business is going to transition at some point, one way or another, and so we want to make that as good and as pleasant and as a rewarding process and an event as possible.
Why is exit planning important?
We belong to a group called the Exit Planning Institute that does some studies of that topic. What they've seen is that about half of businesses that are put on the market don't sell. Those that do sell, or those that, where business owners do exit, something like 2/3, when they're interviewed a couple of years later, say they weren't happy with the way the exit went. And so there's a big opportunity there to help people and to really kind of make that a rewarding experience. It should be the success at the end of an owner's career, not an unpleasant memory as they go forward. So that's really why we think it's important.
Yeah, nothing like looking back on all of your life's work with regret.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What are some factors that lead to a successful business exit?
We kind of break it down into three buckets. It's really kind of based on readiness. So is the business ready for the exit? Is the owner financially ready for the exit? And then is the owner personally ready for the exit? That last piece, the personal piece, sometimes is the most tricky. We see a lot of business owners have devoted their lives to building their businesses. And when they go from being a business owner one day to not the next, that's a tough transition just mentally. And so preparing them to do that is a big piece there. The financial piece is a little bit self-explanatory. I mean, does the owner have the wherewithal to carry on life as he's used to going forward after the exit? And then the business side, we focus a lot there to talk about how to make the business more attractive for whoever the next owner is, if it's an outside buyer or if it's somebody kind of within the company.
When should a business owner start considering what their exit plan is?
Yeah. There's never really a bad time. I mean, one of the things we say a lot is that you should begin with the end in mind. So really, if you're even just starting your business, kind of have in mind where you want that to go. And it helps to be able to aim that there so that you can meet your goals later on. We also say a lot that exit planning is business planning. So the things that you do in your business to make it more attractive are going to make it a better operating business most of the time. And so even if you don't plan to exit for a long time, you can have a more successful business while you're operating it if you do some of the same things. The best time is sooner rather than later. We'll have people come to us and say, hey, I'm thinking of getting out of my business in 6 months. And okay, there are things we can do then, but there's not very much that we can really move the needles or help that to be more successful with that kind of narrow window. 3 years is good, 5 years is better, but again, there's never really a bad time.
So as part of our advisory services that we offer, we do offer exit planning. Can you talk to us a little bit about what an exit planning engagement looks like?
Usually the first step is to do a valuation of the business to help the owner understand what the business is worth. What we see all the time is that owners are so busy operating their businesses, they don't really take the time to understand that. And so we've had surprises on one end and the other where an owner might think, this is worth a lot more than I thought it was, or unfortunately the other side goes too, where it may not be worth quite what the owner might have thought. Doing that first step of understanding the value, educating the owner about what drives that value is a crucial first step. From there, we'll tell the owner kind of why the value is the way it is, and then look for ways that we can move that so that the value may be here today, but we can make it here by the time the owner is actually ready to exit. And then another thing owners really don't understand often is what their options are. And so there's an educational piece there too, to talk to owners about what options they may have for an exit. An owner might think, hey, I'm going to pass this on to my kids. Well, what if your kids don't want to do it, right? That's not a recipe to have a successful exit. And so, we talk about those kind of things a lot too.
So it's very much a one-on-one customized process.
It absolutely is. I mean, kind of the overall format, I think starting with identifying the value is probably a first step for anything. But from there on, the nuts and bolts are going to depend on the specific businesses.
So you mentioned business valuations. Are there other advisory services that we offer that are complementary when you're thinking about having the end in sight?
We do like to work with owners on strategic planning. And so we can look at what maybe issues an owner's having with the business, and we can help them identify areas to improve those. Looking at what the next steps are to drive the value to get from point A to point B, and then what steps the owner can take. That's the biggest part of what we do there.
And I know we have a number of tools in our toolbox to assist with that, and we've used some of those internally.
Yes, we have.
Thank you so much for your time today, Chris. This was very helpful information.
Oh, thanks for having me here, and thanks for asking the questions. Do you know what you're going to talk about next?
Well, it depends.